I know and believe that there is a misconception in this world around pausing means that you are ceasing any and all activity, that you are lazy, that you are incapable.
Hmm.
And what is ironic is that the pause is actually where the acceleration happens. And what the pause gifts you is the in between, which then attaches the outcome that much faster. And we think it is the opposite.
Hello, amazing humans, and welcome to episode number 274 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Have you ever been in a moment in your life where you know things are not going well? Are you about to make a big decision and you're like, are you up against a problem that you've had maybe more than once? You're starting to notice this is a pattern, or something's happening where you're constantly uncomfortable, or things just don't feel right, or heaven help us all, you are freaking exhausted. Well, I've got some news for you about that. And today's podcast episode is really going to help support what I'm about to say, which is your brain is not going to solve that problem for you. Your brain is not going to help you figure it out. And you know how I know that? Because if your brain was going to do that, it would have done it already. Oh, dang. So if you're like Sarah Walton, well, thanks so much. But if I'm not listening to my brain about this, and if I'm not going to solve the problem, how do I deal with this? How do I get unstuck? What is the process here? Right. And that is more of our brain trying to understand. But the good news is, today's podcast guest, Wendy Paige Sterling, has the answer. You guys, I love this woman. If you have never listened to a podcast episode before, boy, am I glad this is your first one. You're going to love it. And if you are a lover of the Game On Girlfriend podcast, you're going to be like, oh, we nailed it again. Because Wendy really helps us tap into what she calls the power of the pause. And in this, forgive me, white patriarchal world where we are taught to hustle and cram and go and solve. And if you would just sit down and brainstorm and work harder, it would all be okay, except look at the state of the world. That's not working. And so Wendy in today's podcast is going to walk you through step by step by step, gently and lovingly. Oh my God, I love this woman. Every time you listen to her, you're going to feel calm. It's so good. She will walk us through exactly how you can start to move forward when you are feeling your most stuck. Wendy Paige Sterling is a bold leadership disruptor, empowering high achieving women to break industry norms by tapping into their intuitive, yes, I can voice to create movements and to drive impact with a mission to align business with passion. Wendy helps leaders build not only successful businesses, but deeply fulfilling lives and careers. She's a sought after speaker and she's a two-time international best-selling author. Wendy's expertise has been featured on NBC, Good Day LA, the Daily Blast Live, and she coaches ambitious disruptors to lead with authenticity, to push past limits, and to embrace challenges that ignite their true potential. Wendy's really known for this no nonsense approach that she has. You're going to hear it in the way that she speaks, but it is so inviting and so accessible, which is such a strange way to talk about intuition. But I don't know about you, but sometimes I listen to people and I'm like, that seems like it's so far away from me. Like I can't meditate for 45 minutes a day, or that doesn't quite work for me. Listen to the way Wendy invites you to pull this into your life in the easiest, most simple way possible. If you have been feeling stuck, if you're ready to make a big decision, this is the episode for you. Pop in those earphones and let's get to it. Wendy, I'm dying. I die dead. I am so happy to have you on the podcast today. This is a conversation I have been wanting to bring to the girlfriends for a long time. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you. You're one of my favorite people.
Oh,
So
back at you, sister. Back at you. You guys can tell this is going to be a love fest conversation, but it's also really, I think, going to support so many people who are kind of relearning how to trust themselves. Yeah. And I so love your work and so appreciate what you do and all of the different elements you bring into it. There's a lot of things you could have chosen to do with your life. And so, with all of your talents, all of your skills, why is this, of all those things, why is this what you've chosen to do with your life?
oh, yeah, with all the choices out there, right? To be honest, it is a calling. I have no better way than to explain it as just this deep rooted bottom level nudge that has just been in me honestly since I was a little girl.
Mm,
I have always been someone who has had just this, when I was little, I had this innate ability to just be okay with who I was and how different I was. And
mm.
I knew that there was something in me that connected to something higher. And obviously, when I was little, I had no idea what that was until obviously later in life when I was like, oh, that's what that was. But I also grew up knowing that was in me, but then it got silenced. And this is why. And it is because, I am the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors on two sides of my family.
Wow.
And so when my grandparents came to this country, it was all about fitting in. It was all about living the American dream, fitting into those roles. And I was not born to fit into anybody's mold or role. And unfortunately, it got to the point where I kept getting reprimanded and I kept getting negative feedback from my family anytime I would do something that was, unexpected, let's call it, or
Mhm.
outside of what they would have considered blending in, right outside of the
Mhm.
box.
Yeah.
And so I started playing small and I started becoming a version of myself that everyone else saw me to be. And it was that external validation that became my gratification of knowing that I was on my path when inside of me, I knew that this didn't feel necessarily right. And so 4 decades later, here I am playing
Oof.
this role, marrying my college sweetheart, my sister, I'm Jewish. Got to marry a doctor or a lawyer. My sister married the doctor. I married the lawyer. And it got to the point where I was just feeling suffocated. And I think that the universe just knew it.
Mm.
And it was that wake up call that I needed to finally stand up for myself, to stop playing small, to stop feeling lost on a daily basis and seeking external validation, to stop feeling suffocated by the weight of other people's expectations. And honestly, to feel like I could not only take a deep breath, but actually feel like I could fully exhale. The
Mm.
kind of exhale where you feel expanded. I am sure so many people can relate to this, but it's really, I took a stand at that point in time that I was going to honor who I was, no matter what the consequences were, no matter the judgment, no matter the fear, no matter the doubt, because I knew that I was here for so much more. And I had only, being in corporate for 20 years and building multi-million dollar regions for female lifestyle brands and, all of that was great. But at the end of the day, my fire within was all about helping other women, to help them to turn on their light inside, to help them to see the path that I can already see for them. As I've said to you, like it's really about resetting your fuse so that you can ignite the
Mm.
fire within you to start living that dream. But ultimately, it's got to come in these moments of pause where we give ourselves that ability to not only breathe, but to fully exhale.
That fully exhale has me like riveted. I think there are just a few times in life when we can really let it all
Just
come out
let it
like
all
that.
out.
Yeah. I mean, was
Deflate
there
that balloon.
Yeah, I know, right? That's such a good way to word it. I have to ask you because I always like draw pictures in my head. Is there a moment, do you remember where you were, where you really experienced that like,
Yeah, I do. And it was followed by massive amounts of ego, fear, doubt, and what the hell did you just do moment. And
mm,
honestly, it was, I think I have, not I think, I know I have felt it twice so far, at least in the last, I would say 5 or 10 years, I have felt it. The first time was literally in my couples therapist office with my now ex-husband. I had been fighting for my marriage. I talk about this openly. My ex-husband had an affair and it was devastating at the
mm,
time.
mm.
But I do remember when we were trying to figure out where we were going, we were in our couples therapist office, and it was one of those moments of like, shit or get off the pot at this point. I hope it's okay that I just said that.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was like, am I getting
Mhm.
beeped? But it really was. It was like, okay, dude, like, what are we doing here? Like, it's been
Right.
almost a year. We both get to live our lives. And I remember just looking at him and he was like, well, I don't know. And I just cut him off. And it was
Uh-huh.
one of those moments where I just looked at him and I said, well, I do. And I am done. And I looked at the therapist and I was like, can I leave, please? Like, I'm done. There's no more conversations. Like, I'm done. And she was like, yeah, go ahead. And I walked out of the office and I kid you not, there was a mirror in the lobby to go out. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I took the biggest exhale. And on that exhale, the tears started coming down and they just kept flowing. And I looked at myself in the rearview mirror of the car when I got in my car and I was in the like, what the fuck did you just do?
Yeah.
But I was like, but I can breathe again. Like, I finally chose me. Like, that
Mhm.
moment where you just know, like, yes, I just imploded decades of my life, with this man. And of course, the first thought is like, holy crap, what I just do to my kids. But I could breathe again. I felt like I was whole. And the second time was really actually last summer when we were in Maui on our family vacation and the Lahaina fires broke out and we were there and we literally drove through the fires. And that was probably the second time where I really felt that exhale. And that was for a much deeper reason. And that exhale had to do with me realizing that it was time for me to walk away from my 7-figure business that I had built around divorce coaching and to really fully step into my intuitive self, to really step into the power, the spiritual power that I owned,
Mm.
and to really deepen my connection to God. And so it was this further expansion that I was able to really connect more deeply, because I let myself expand another step. So those are the two moments I would say.
It's hard to leave me speechless. Well done, Wendy. That I'm just like, whoa. I had a feeling these were really like moments for you. And I think it's so important to kind of highlight those. One, it was really cool to watch you relive those, right? Like, really experience
And
those. But also, I don't think I know a woman who hasn't had a moment like that, maybe wasn't recognized for what it was. Like, I'm even thinking of like Elizabeth Gilbert on the bathroom floor at the beginning of Eat, Pray, Love, right? Like, she didn't realize
right,
what that was for years,
right.
what was actually happening. But when we know, oh, and you catching yourself in the mirror on the way out, I can't with that. That is,
Yeah.
wow.
Chills.
Just,
Yeah.
I know. I'm sitting here with
And I
chills.
remember it like it
Oof.
was yesterday. Like it just
Mm.
one of those moments that, it's stamped in my memory and not for bad. It is an image that I go back to frequently just to remind myself of my strength and to remind myself of my power and, how I get to be this example for other women. And I was terrified. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. No one in my family is divorced, the D word, God forbid, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
now I'm being branded. And at the same time, I say this frequently, like it was the best gift I gave myself. I mean, choosing yourself and gifting yourself back with your authentic being, there's no greater gift. There's nothing that I would rather have in this world.
I couldn't agree more. Oh, I love the way you just described that coming home and the power of that. And I know inside your business, Wendy, and in basically it's like your whole being, honestly, if I'm going to say it that way, is really outlining the power of the pause. I mean, that's the name of your podcast. Like, this is like what you are really urging all of us to do. When someone hears the power of the pause, right? Are they curious about like what happens when people start talking to you about it? They're like, wait, but can I create the pause? Does the pause just happen to me? Does it happen if I meditate? Like, is it menopause? Like, when does this pause happen? Right. I'm like, how can we, if we're up against something, is this something we can cultivate? I think that's kind of the way I want to ask that question.
Yeah, I mean, it is the power that we all have within. I think the reason that we avoid the pause is because we feel, especially those of us who are women who are, in power positions or, we are juggling a million balls that we hold as accolades for us and think that like, can't put those balls down. What are people gonna think if I put the balls down? Like, and so I think that there's this not I think, I know and believe that there is a misconception in this world around pausing means that you are ceasing any and all activity, that you are lazy, that you are incapable.
Hmm.
And what is ironic is that the pause is actually where the acceleration happens. You see, when you are in this constant hustle, I hate the word hustle. I hate hustle culture. I hate the phrase power through. It's BS. And all that does is give you a false sense of momentum because all you are doing is doing. You are not present. You are not connected. You have zero intention. You have no focus. You think your focus is on the outcome, but you are completely ignoring everything in between. And what the pause gifts you is the in between which then attaches the outcome that much faster. And we think it is the opposite. We think that in the pause, oh, this is never going to happen. Oh my God, how much longer do I have to wait? And it's really in these moments of pause where you breathe. Like, you guys, I don't care what your pause looks like. There isn't, you don't open a book and be like, this is the definition. Yes, I know you can go into Webster's dictionary and see what pause means. But for me, what the pause means is really silencing your mind, because in your mind, that is where your fear, your doubt, your regret, your judgment, your ego is all there. And it is loud and it is so freaking noisy and it is distracting you. And so when you get yourself into a place where you can just silence your mind. Now, I am someone, my head goes a million miles a minute, type A personality, love being in control. So for me, it has been a practice. And part of that practice for me has also involved acknowledging what's coming up and going, hey, thanks. And I know that's not true, or thank you for letting me know, or, just letting it run so that you can get yourself into a place where you can just sit and be and pause. I am not a girl that gets on a meditation pillow. That is not my jam. For me, I'm do much, much better if I am either sitting outside. Sometimes it's my pauses when I'm walking my dog. Sometimes my pauses in the bathtub, even the shower. But just getting yourself into a place where you can just hear your actual intuitive thoughts, where you can hear what your inner wisdom is telling you, not the ego who is looking and seeking logic every which way to Sunday to justify something. It is that conscious calm that will come in those pause moments to really enable you to know what is best and to get you where it is that you want to go that much faster.
I love that. I think that you're spot on. Haven't we all? I like to call them shower moments. So I'm going to take your
Yes.
thing about, like, I call them shower moments. I literally
Yeah.
will say to clients, you need to just forget about this and let it come up in the shower, because that's where it all why? Because we can't do anything else.
No.
Right? You're just shampooing, you're, rubbing on, and that's it. Your brain actually has a moment to actually capture, I think, tap into maybe a more brilliant source. I think the reason I use the shower moment is we've all had one, right? I'm like,
Oh,
oh my God, I had the
absolutely.
best breakthrough in the shower, right? Such a simple moment to highlight what you're saying about the power that's available when we freaking stop.
And I think that we confuse that voice with like, that doesn't mean anything, right? Or we hear it and then we're like looking for logic and we can't find it. And so we dismiss it. But it's that calm thought that just comes in and you're just like, oh, what was that? Instead of like it's like loud in your, and it happens to all of us, and I would invite everybody to really think about, a lot of the work that I do with my clients is helping them to tap into the different sensations that come through with those thoughts. So think
Mm.
about how and where in your body you feel your intuition, right? Those moments of pause where you're just letting yourself be. And think about the words that are coming in or what it is that you are hearing. What is the frequency of them? What is the energy behind it? Is it really like anxiety driven and fast and is making your heart race? Or is it this calm, just inner knowing that is like very soothing, but you're like, oh, okay, like what's that about? And it's not going to have logic attached to it. So those are the moments and the thoughts and the words that you want to pay more attention to and turn down the noise, turn down the volume on the ones that make your heart race.
Okay. Like, done. I would love that. Let's do that all day. I mean, I think that hustle BS, it's like, I actually had a Voxer with a client just the other day. Like, how do I deal with this? Like, how do I deal with the fact she was sick and she's like, how do I deal with the fact I need to rest? And it's like, oh my God, what have we done? What
Yeah.
have we done to ourselves that we
Yeah.
think resting means we're not
Doing.
good? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I know.
fascinating.
I think as women, as moms, like so much of our identity is tied to, I mean, and I can relate to this, like it's tied to all of the things that, or I should say, like all of the external evidence that people can see that like I'm doing it all. And yeah, I may not feel good, but I'm gonna, again, I'm going to power through.
Mhm.
And it's the worst thing that you can do for yourself. I mean, you guys,
Mm.
there's days where like I feel tired and I will just go lie down for like 10 minutes and like a meditation, like I'll go on YouTube and find like a
Mhm.
meditation, video to listen to, or just to give myself moments, or I'll walk outside and put my feet in the grass for, I live in Los Angeles, so I could do that during the winter too. But I'll just go outside and, and it doesn't take long. And I think that I think the other challenge is that we think it has to be like this duration of time. And when we say that we need to rest, well, maybe resting for you because you're not feeling great is just taking an extra 15 minutes. Maybe it's even 30 minutes, right? I
Mhm.
mean, I've had days where I've woken up, I get migraines when like the weather shifts here in LA, and there's days I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I can't do recordings today. I can't take clients
Mhm.
today. Like I'm not at my best and it's not worth it for me. And, my clients aren't going to get the best for me either. So I would invite you to really consider, how is it that you are showing up in those moments? Are
Mm.
you showing up present? Are you able to really be present and be there and to give the best of yourself? Because I would pretty much bet that you're not.
Yeah.
And people can pick up on that. And it's just not worth it in the end for anybody.
It's such a disservice to everyone, isn't it? I mean, there are
Yes.
times, look, we all know we have to do whatever, something, right? A kid needs us or there's an emergency, of course. But on the daily, I really appreciate what you're saying, that it looks different for all of us as well. And I think that permission that we all need in a culture where, forgive me, I love my Brennan Burchards and my Tony Robbins as well, but where white men have told us for years to power through and suck it up and just do the thing, right? And it's like, maybe, but maybe there's other ways to do this too. And for you, it
Yeah.
might be 15 minutes. For someone else, it's an hour and a half. And for someone else, it's 30 seconds. And to honor that difference in us, I think is so critical. I really appreciate you saying that.
Listen, you got to do what works for you. Just because XYZ works for me, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. But if you don't allow yourself the opportunity to try it, just to see what works for you, right? Like this afternoon, I'm like, oh, some things moved around. I'm like, oh, I have like this whole afternoon free. I'm like, I'm gonna go drive my tushy to the beach and go journal there instead of sitting here in my house and in my
Mhm.
backyard. Like I'm gonna go out to Malibu today and go
Mm.
sit by the ocean and go journal because I can. And it's like I'm
Mhm.
feeling the calling. And I could sit here and be like, oh, LA traffic, it's Halloween, but I know when we're recording is in advance, but it's like it's
Yeah.
a holiday and it's like
Yeah.
I don't let that chatter, right? That's the chatter that's like, oh, you're gonna be stuck in traffic, it's gonna take
Hmm.
forever. What if it's crowded? Like, I don't care. Like my heart is like, you need to go to the water today. And so
Oh,
that's what I'm gonna do.
I love that. I love
Wish you
that.
could join me, Sarah.
God, me too, sister. Me too. My LA heart is weeping a little bit
I
right now.
know.
But let me ask this. God, I love that you're going to go do that today, by the way. Okay. So if someone's listening to this, Wendy, and they're like, one, there's no way for me. I can't do that. I'm never going to be able to rest, relax, or they're just feeling massively stuck. Like, I think for women, especially, this can come up like, I can't. You don't understand. My children need me to do this. My business needs me to do that. I won't survive if I really listen to myself. Everything's going to fall apart. And so they just stay in this stuck space. How do people break through that feeling of stuckness? What can we do?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like we seek shortcuts to get as much done as possible, right? And
Yes.
the shortcut is actually just allowing yourself to move through what is coming up. So instead of like, even in what you were just saying, it was like you're like swatting things away, right? You're like swatting it all away.
Yeah.
What if instead of swatting it away, you just let yourself be in this moment of, okay, I have to do this for my kids. Be in that moment. Why do I have to do this for my kids? Well, they're depending on me. Okay. Why are they depending on you? Well, because I told them I would get this done for them today. Okay. Well, does it have to get done today? Is it really like, is it life or death that this has to get done today? Right. And just kind of let yourself get into curiosity around the thoughts that are coming up. Or
Mm.
maybe it's like, oh, but I made this promise to this person. Okay, well, what's the worst that would happen if you didn't do this today, or you called them and said, I need an extra day to complete this? What is the worst that you think would happen? Oh, well, they'd be so disappointed. Okay, what else, right? And just keep getting curious around your emotions that are attached to your to do list. And that many times helps me, helps my clients to just really get focused on either I'm making this so much of a bigger deal than it is.
Mm,
And you know what?
mm.
I thought these four things were like must do's today, and they're not. But actually, this other thing is a must do today. And I had deprioritized it, but now I'm realizing this is what I actually should be focusing on today, right? And so just give yourself the opportunity to lean into what is coming up and to get curious about it instead of just swatting things
Mm.
away, because that is going to help to settle you, like to really ground you in to that moment for you to also bring down like your nervous system. When you're acting in that high agitated state, that reactive state,
Yeah.
you're not making the best decisions or choices. And so I would encourage you to just lean into what is coming up, to get curious about it instead of being in judgment around it, and
Interesting.
see what comes up. Be curious.
I think we've been taught to judge forever, haven't we? Why am I feeling that way? Why did I
Yes.
feel that way? When did you feel that way? Why are you wearing that? Why did I, you know what I mean? Like we just are constantly doing that. So this is like you're feeling stuck. You're like, uh, let the curiosity lead those next couple of thoughts, and that will help move us through that moment. Do I have
Yeah,
it right?
and
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, and I love the like other people's opinions are none of your business or something to that effect, and I've said
Yeah.
a version of that myself.
Yeah.
And I think that when we stop worrying about what other people think or how other people are going to experience things, that it makes it a lot easier for us to focus on what is best for us. I mean, we could get into a whole other conversation around, this comes down to like, what are your boundaries? What do your boundaries look like? Because to me, it tells me that you do not have very clear boundaries around where you end and other people begin.
Ooh.
And that too is also a really good place to start, is to really start saying like, why do I put other people's feelings ahead of my own? What is it about that is important to me? Because what that tells me many times, and I was guilty of this for decades,
Yeah.
I
Me
had
too.
no boundaries. But I got to tell you, the second I did, I stopped feeling stuck. I stopped feeling like the weight of the world was on my shoulders, and I started owning what I actually did have control over. And it's amazing what happens when you really focus on what it is that you do have control over and you release what you don't.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I feel like I'm like taking notes on the back of my hand right now. I'm like, okay, and another thing. So it's like, it's really getting curious about what's actually happening in the moment. Then I love what you just said about taking that curiosity even deeper into our own boundaries or lack of, because I just think, boy, it's almost as we age, there's just like pinhole after pinhole put in our boundaries. And then we're told we're bad if we put them back up. And so I think, or we can take on that idea that we're bad. If we don't show up for everybody all the time, there's actually
Right.
something wrong. And so to get curious about where we learned that or how that happened, or I love what you said. Why is that important to me? I think that is just huge. And so as people are asking these questions, right, we're getting curious. We're trying to break through something we feel stuck around. I know you say that, the intuition is a superpower right there. So you're starting to ask these questions. How do we know? I think I know the answer to this, but I cannot wait to hear what you say. How do we know the difference between intuition and an ego attack in that moment of curiosity? How do we feel through the difference so that we can really start to trust our intuition?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get asked this all the time. And I'll even throw in a third piece of this too, which is a question I get a lot, which is like, how do I know it's my imagination? Right. And
Ooh.
so here's the difference. And it's going to require you to slow down and to pay attention to how a thought is making you feel, the sensations that are coming up in your body. So fear is going to come in, and it's going to have this massive amount of reactivity, anxiety. It is
Mhm.
going to make your heart race. It is going to then set your mind on overdrive,
Hmm.
reaching for evidence and logic to prove that is the right thing to do. And if you even think about it, it's like there is just like this heightened sense of like your shoulders are rising up and you're
Mhm.
just like your body is tensing up. That is 100% fear and everything else that is not intuition. On the other side, intuition, and the way that I teach it and talk about it is a calm, easy, but firm little like, hey there. And it's going to be something that you're going to have no logic found to be attached to it. You're not even going to be like, where do I find? You're just like, oh, interesting. Okay. And then you just move on. And it is just this conscious, just this, it's like the best way I can describe it for me, like I know where I feel fear. I feel fear. It is like in my throat. It is like it is like bad. And then when my intuition speaks to me, it's kind of like this calm little nudge that I usually feel in like the lower part of my body. Like for me, it's near my gut, but it's a much lower sensation in my body. I have clients that
Mm.
feel, they feel fear in their chest and they feel intuition in their third eye or, wherever it is in your body. But there is a very big difference between the two. And so I would just invite you to start noticing the difference. The other thing about intuition is it's going to be something that like you've never even thought of. It's going to be like one of the 20 scenarios that you've already planned for in your head. It's not going to be one of those. It's going to be something totally out there that you're just going to be like, wait, what did you just say? Like, and it's not going to have any emotion attached to it. It's just this little like, here you go. This is the
Mm.
answer. So play with it and kind of see for yourself. That's the best way that I can describe it, but it is a sensation. So when your mind is driving the bus, it is not the right answer for you. But when your body gets curious and it feels like very calm, then that's the direction you can flow. And I would invite everybody to start playing with this on a small level. Like, what do you want for lunch today?
Mm.
Man, we talked about this before, right? It's like, I really want a burrito, but like, I should have a salad. The salad is the ego, and the burrito is your intuition being like, you should have a burrito today, right? I'm not saying, so you can start small, right? Or like, I was getting dressed for this interview and I was like, what do I want to wear today? I was like, oh, I should wear long sleeves because it's cold outside. I was like, no, like again, logic, evidence, right?
Mm.
Versus like, but this top is like fire. So I'm going to wear
So
like that one
smoking.
feels really nice.
It is so gorgeous. You guys are listening. You got to pop over to YouTube because holy smokes, she looks gorgeous.
Thank you.
Okay, so I really appreciate you giving like real world examples that we can actually go out and try right now, starting with, what should my next meal be and really starting to feel in. I know for me, I think it's Jamie Kearns Lima,
Oh,
there it is,
Jamie.
where she talks about leaning into the knowing instead of leaning into the no, right? The NO and then leaning into the knowing. And for me, I know just to share as people are starting to explore this, I really feel it in my gut, like right where my ribs separate. Like it's
Mm,
right there and it's like so easy to take the next step. Anytime I can feel it's almost like a thunk. It's like a drop.
mhm.
I know it's so interesting to describe it that way. I've never
Yeah.
tried to describe it before, but that's the feeling, just thunk. And then it's like I can always make the next best decision. Right when I feel that feeling, I know whatever comes next is correct. And it is so different from I'm a planner. I love my stuff, but like it's so different from when I sit down and say, all right, what are we doing in Q1? What are we doing in Q2? Or like what's going on with the family? Where are the vacations? And that's kind of life stuff, but that is such a different expression of joy and happiness and planning from the thunk. I'm gonna call it that from now on,
It
Wendy, just so
is.
you
You
know. Yeah.
should. Your
Yeah.
intuition's your thunk. And it does get to be that simple, Sarah. Like it really does. And everybody's is going to look and feel different. But I really would ask everybody listening today, how has listening to the noise been serving you? How's it going? What is the harm in maybe trying it different? What's the harm? What is the worst that's going to happen?
I mean, I got nothing to add to that because I mean, look at the state of the world. I mean, it is not working. Whatever it is we're all doing, like there's some other stuff to try.
There is. And
Ignoring.
I think that we downplay this concept of like a ripple effect, right? It's like if you're operating at this fear level, like everybody in your sphere, in your universe is feeling that frequency. Like we're all made of energy, right? And so it is contagious. Think about when you walk into a room, when
Mm.
you're thinking, who do
Mm.
I go up to say hello to? And you're like, feeling the vibe of the room and you're like, not going to go to that corner, but ooh, these people, right? You can feel the energy. So like be more conscious of the energy that you're putting out there. And because that is what is going to attract people to you or for you to be attracted to other people. Like it's really the slowdown. I mean, coming back to the top of the conversation, right? It's like, this is why it's so important for us to slow down, to engage in more moments of pause so that we are feeling in deeper alignment, not only with ourselves, but with the people that we want to bring into our life, or that the people that are in our life,
Yes.
how we want them to feel when they are with us.
Yeah. I love that so much. I feel amazing right now. I'm like, and oh, there's that exhale. So
Good.
let's say someone's listening or watching and they're like, oh my God, that shirt. Let's say that. And they're like, I need me some more Wendy in my life. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm super findable. So you guys are welcome to, first and foremost, to be honest, like if you want to listen to more of me speaking about a range of topics, please feel free to find me on my podcast, The Power in the Pause. It's on all podcast platforms. And Sarah is an upcoming guess, actually, probably by the time this comes out, your episode will be live. So be sure to check out our episode as well. You can also find me on social media at Wendy Paige Sterling. So Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn are my primaries, and YouTube is my podcast. So The Power in the Pause is my YouTube channel. And yeah, you guys can check out my website, wendypagesterling.com as well. I've got some great freebies on there. If you guys want to go deeper into your intuition, I've got a really great freebie on there as well for you guys to tap into and see if it feels good to you.
I
So
love that. I love that. And you also, I think for the girlfriends, am I correct in saying
yeah.
there's actually a call available for some people to book? Do I have this
Yeah.
right? Because I die. I die. Like to have time with you
Yes.
one-on-one. Oh my God. I can't.
Yes. For
Ah.
you. Sarah's going to be first in line.
Me first. Yes.
I love getting on calls with people because you guys, I just have this pretty amazing ability to just jump on a call with someone, get into their energy space, and be able to help you see something that you cannot see right now that is going to essentially unlock what is keeping you from taking that first step forward. And so I want to gift you guys with the opportunity to jump on a call with me to see not only what that feels like, but to get you moving in whatever direction it is that you guys want to go. So yeah, and in doing that, I'll teach you how to do it for yourself.
You guys, you have to take advantage of this call. You're going to be like, Sarah, 8 billion people call me. No, but you have to take advantage of this call. You guys, I have been on calls like that with Wendy, and she is unbelievable. She really does have this ability to tap into you and to see things you can't see, which is what's just so powerful. And like we always say, it's why we have a girlfriends podcast, right? None of us can do this alone. We need each other. And when we all honor our own skills and our own talents, we can support each other with them, which is just the height of beauty, in my very humble opinion. Wendy, thank you so much for spending time with the girlfriends today. I just adore you. I'm so glad you're in my world, and I can't wait for more people to get to know you.
Thank you for having me. It is such an honor. I always love having a conversation with you. It's seriously today, the highlight of my day today. I love you so much, and thank you for having me.
Back at you.